Welcome everyone. Today we're in the garage and I wanted to show you the rear seat delete platform that I built for the Jeep Gladiator. Everyone's going to have different uses and needs for their truck, but hopefully you'll be able to watch this video and get some ideas for how you'd like to build a platform of your own. There's enough room between the bed and the rack that we have on the back to store all of our equipment and gear, but there's still a lot of gear that we want to keep dry out of the snow and dust that we are really limited on space inside the truck. We rarely, if ever, need seating for 5 in the truck. I decided to remove the seats and build platforms to replace them, kind of as a blank slate for what we wanted to build on, depending on the trip we were going to take. So I have the 40% here to show you. You'll notice the cleats on the front and back up here. I use this so that I can strap down water jugs. So notice there are fronts and sides to this one, so that anything I put under it is really only accessible from the hatch on the top. The process to remove the seats is pretty easy, and I'll go into more detail there. Well, we've never needed all 3 seats in the back. We sometimes need 1 or 2, so the platform is a 60-40 split, so either the back seat pieces can be installed with one of the platforms, and I can decide which seating is needed before we leave for a trip. For day-to-day use, I keep the 60% delete installed, which gives me room for 2 passengers and offers a bunch of storage options. Over this winter, we weren't taking many wheeling trips, and I discovered that I was taking a lot of my tools to different places, so I was tired of the toolboxes sliding around just on this open platform. So I installed the Milwaukee Packout mounting plate, and that allowed me to stack a large number of toolboxes in the back of the truck. With the Packout plate installed, I did lose access through that opening at the top, so I need to open up the rear seat that is still in the truck to get any of my recovery gear. So I've got air compressor hose, tow straps, some gloves, first aid kit, my receiver hitches, and tree saver. You can see that once we have the fridge installed, we're still going to have a lot of space against the back wall. So I would like to come up with something that would allow me to utilize that space. I think if I mount or attach to these 2 bolts up here and have a piece of plywood come down, I could perhaps mount a battery, inverter, and charger up there. I need something that won't interfere with the subwoofer here, but it'd be really nice to be able to utilize that space. It's really not going to take up any space that we're using now, but could add a bunch of functionality to the truck if we have an extra battery. Before removing the seats, you'll want to remove the factory plastic tray on the floor that's under the seat, and that's using a 10mm socket. Once that's done, there's a plastic trim covering up this part of the seat mount, and that can be removed using a T25 Torx bit. I have them removed here, but we can see where they would mount. There are 2 bolts here that hold the 40% section to the 60% section, and you can remove those using a 10mm socket as well. If you are thinking of removing the seats, go ahead and make sure you have an external Torx bit set. I didn't have this. I don't know if many people do, but these bolts here that hold each seat on are actually an external Torx, so they have a star shape to them. That's a little dirty, but there are 2 per side per seat, and those are an E14 external Torx. So after getting the seats removed, I laid down a sheet of cardboard and just trimmed it until it fit. So you can see I've got kind of a cutout here by that door, and then the little pieces around this black plastic across the back of the cab. So I had that cardboard. I was satisfied with the fit of it. I then transferred that to this 5/8 plywood. Once I had the top sheet cut out and fit and was satisfied with that, I then moved on to building the fronts and the sides. The fronts are going to hold up, of course, the front of the platform, and the sides just help stuff from falling out when that door is open. I do have on the 60%, I have it open from this side. If I have both pieces in, the 40% does have a wall here so that nothing will go in between them. Not that that would be too big of a deal, but it's also nice if I have the 60% seat in, then the 40% is entirely closed off. Now the only thing actually holding the platform in place is these 2 bolts, one on each side of each platform, and those use the existing mounting holes for the seat. It's the one from the back. The one in the front is actually just a little lower. I didn't want to mess with those external Torx every time, so I bought new hardware. They are M12 by 1.75 bolts, and they're actually pretty short because they just needed to fit in on a few threads, and then I used washers on those. If you wanted, you could countersink these. I think there's enough room in enough thickness in the plywood that you could sink these probably 3/8 of an inch. An issue that I ran into when I was installing this is after I had the platform built and put it in place, I really had just a general idea of where those bolts needed to be, but not an exact location for the holes. So I actually threaded these bolts into the holes, laid the platform on top, and then just hammered it a bit so that I could get an indent on the bottom of the platform of where those holes were, then removed the platform and drilled the platform for the holes. So here's what it looks like with a full stack of Packout toolboxes in here. If you're careful about how you pack these toolboxes, you can fit a ton of tools and parts in each of these. So I would never probably bring this many tools with me unless I was moving garages. And you'll see in the back we still have quite a bit of space for anything else. You do have to move the seat up just a tiny bit on the passenger side. It's still angled back. It's comfortable for somebody to ride in. They're just sitting a little bit further forward than I would usually sit in the driver's seat. If I'm going on a longer wheeling trip and want to bring some tools with, impact wrenches, maybe ratchets, at least a socket set, these are waterproof, so I usually just throw these in the bed of the truck. They don't need to take up space in the cab that's already limited if these are kind of watertight toolboxes. So that's about it, folks. Like I said at the top of the video, everyone's going to have their different uses for a platform like this, and hopefully you got some ideas here. I've even gone through a couple iterations on my own, but hopefully you can build your own platform and have fun wheeling. Thanks for watching.